Hey friends, welcome back to a new Power BI video. Now today we'd like to talk about quick measures. So far, I mostly talked about DAX and creating my own measures in Power BI, and this is what I highly recommend actually, because if you do not understand DAX, you're not able to at first modify quick measures you want to create, and also to create your own custom measures which might be not available in the quick measures option. But after learning DAX, and I think you're still doing it, it makes sense to get familiar with quick measures, because sometimes they can be helpful. So let's dive into that. So if you go to Home in your report, of course you find here next to the Measure option, the option to create quick measures. Now these are calculations which Power BI will create automatically for you. All you need to do is simply drag and drop specific columns from your field list inside this quick measure option. So let's do that. Let me click on quick measure and let's just see what's available there. So here, at first you specify what kind of calculation do you want to do. So if I go to select calculation, click on here, I can see that these are currently the options available. So I can do some kind of aggregate measures, I can do filter measures, time intelligence measures, and also totals, like running totals and so on. And some kind of mathematical operations if I want. So finally text, two of them. But let's actually explore them. Let's say I'd like to know what is the maximum per category as an aggregate value, for instance. Then I could simply click on max here, and then I need two fields, a base value and a category. And you get some additional information if you hover with the mouse over the icon. So what is the value you want to have the maximum of? And then let's say I'd like to know the maximum of, if I go in this case to my orders table, of the sales figure. So I can simply drag and drop this in the base value. The sum of sales, that's fine. And then I need to specify the category. So category could be any column here. So let's say I want to know the maximum of sales for the countries. So I have customer country in here. So I can drag this into category, drag and drop. And that's actually all I need to configure. And now if I click on OK, then the measure gets calculated and created. And I think in my case it's stored in my dates table. So I would need to search there. But this is sales max per category. Another way would simply if you search for max, because the aggregation was maximum. This is why if you search for max in the field list, you should find the measure. And here is the measure. Let me click on it and let's have a look what it looks like. So let me make this bigger and zoom in maybe. This is what it looks like. So it uses a table function, which is the maxx function, an iterator function. It keeps the values of the customer country here. So keep the filters of values. So means keeps all the filters which might have been applied in the current visual. And then it calculates the sum of order sales. And that's what I meant. I mean, the measure gets created for you, but if you do not know what the DAX functions in here actually mean, then it's really hard to understand actually the measure itself. And also, if you want to modify it, you actually probably then don't know what to do. So that's why it's crucial to learn DAX, but it's also a good idea to familiarize, as I said, with quick measures, because this gets created for us without any kind of intervention here. And now let's check that. So if we take this option here, just to visualize it. So let me at first click it here, and there it is. Like it's currently a bar chart by default, and it shows me 261,000. And what is this? Well, we can easily check this, because if let me just make this closer here, and let's go to the orders table. In the orders table, let's take a look at the customer country. This was the dimension which we used. So let's actually change this to a table visual. And then let's actually have a look at the sales for all the countries in here. And maybe go to the settings here, to the values. Let's just make this a bigger size so you can see that better on your screens. So let's say 15 here. Okay. And you probably see if we sort this, that the highest or the maximum sales number was United States, which is 261,000. And this is exactly the number we get with a quick measure, 261,000 and so on. So this works. Okay, let's have a look at maybe two additional options. Let's go with the quick measure one more time and say this time we'd like to have some kind of filtered value. So for instance, we could be interested in, we sell different categories, and one of the categories is cheese in my case. And I'm interested in, well, if I know the sales for cheese, what is actually the difference towards the other categories? So how much more did we sell for drinks, for instance, considering cheese? If this is a question you have, you can go with difference from filtered value. Click this option, choose a base value. I will go with my sales number again. I can drag this aside. And then I can specify produce blanks in the output or treat a 0 in the calculation if you get a blank. Well, let's say produce blanks as output. Let's say it's the default one. And go to the filter. And under filter, I choose category. And remember, it's the difference towards a category. So we need to specify the difference between towards which category. So here we can easily say, in this case, my reference value is the sales for cheese. And I'd like to know what's the difference from this value to all the other categories. So let's click OK. And it gets created, the measure. Let's take a look. And there it is, sales difference. That's the measure. So we can visualize this. Let me click this option. By default, we would get the complete sales amount as a bar chart without the sales from cheese. But if we take this maybe in a better visual, let's say we'd like to see this for the categories. So go with the categories, tick them. And now let's actually maybe switch this here to this kind of visual. And we would see here the difference for each category in sales towards cheese. So cheese in our case, because we said it is blank, it is blank. And we see the difference for drinks, which have been sold more, and then also for the other categories, which have been sold less. So kind of easy to do with the quick measures. And always, I would encourage you to take a look at the measure itself. So if I go back to the dates table here and click on the sales difference, this tells you what it actually does. So it calculates here the sum of the sales, but only for cheese. It uses the sum of the sales in total, and then it simply returns the difference, right, between the sales itself and the base value. And in the visual, the second variable, this one, will always evaluate the sales for the specific, in our case, category. And the base value will always be the sales for cheese, because this is specified here in a second argument for the calculate function. But again, if you do not know what this means when you take a look at the code, then it's hard actually to modify the code and to really understand what's going on. But still, if you know DAX and you want to use the quick measures, then that's a good use case for that. Maybe let's have a look at one final option, which would be a time intelligent function, because they are really used quite often and very powerful. This is why I think it makes sense to take a look at the quick measure here as well. So tick the option and then say, for the time intelligence here, let's say we would like to see the year-to-date sales. So tick this option, choose a base value, and I will be exactly the same here. I will go my orders table and use the sales. I can drag this in here. And then I need my dates table. So here again, as always, remember it's crucial to have a really specified dates table in your model. And here's the continuous date range. That's what you drag inside. And basically, that's all you need to configure. There's nothing more because we already specified it's a year-to-date calculation. And now if you click OK, the measure gets created. There it is. It's sales year-to-date. You can tick it. And then you get here additional information, how it works. It uses an if condition, whether the dates table is filtered. Otherwise, here you throw an error. And if here you get total year-to-date as a function and use the orders table and then the dates table. Okay, so for instance, also, if I would write this formula myself, I would write it a little bit different. I would also use total year-to-date function, but I still would write it differently. So it's also something you need to keep in mind. And also, I think a hint towards that, even if there's one way to solve it, there in Power BI, there's also most often a different way to solve it as well. So that's the formula. Let's take a look at the formula itself. Let's tick on sales year to date. And then we also would like to use a date dimension here. Tick this option. And then actually, I don't want to see a bar chart. I would like to see this as a table because then it's easier to understand. And let's actually remove the day and remove the quarter. This is something we don't need. And just to increase the size for the values, just so you can see that better, let me go with a text size of 15 again. And then I would see here the sales start in July 2019, and then it adds up here towards the end of the year. So this is the total amount of sales in December which has been sold across 2019. So this is not each month individually, this is simply a running total for the month. And then in January 2020 it restarts, because remember it's a year to date, so it ends at December in this case, and then it restarts in January. And again it calculates all the values for the complete or the entire year, and in December we got 652,000 and so on, and then it restarts in January. So that's it for the third function or formula. And as I said, there are much more quick measures available for you. You can try them out. Maybe some of them can be useful for you just to save a little bit of time and don't write the formula yourself. But I still would highly recommend and encourage you to learn DAX because it's really important. And the quick measures can give you a little help, but they can't do the job for you in total. Okay? So that's it for this video. If you liked it, then please consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos, and also give the video a thumbs up because it's also helpful and a great feedback. Okay, so thanks, and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.